For what? The kitchen? Yeah. Oh,
That's fine.
can't tell me anything. No. At least I didn't think again. That's just me. Should he go like that? Who said that? Who said that? Me. You didn't say it? Everyone agrees. It's a unanimous.
Good to go.
You are good to go.
We have a couple of winner doing.
Let's see who's here.
It didn't look like council winner.
Yeah. I think he's on there. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, I think that's it.
No, it's not him.
Yeah, he doesn't have his camera on, so he's not gonna show up.
Oh, okay.
But
All right.
you invited him in? He's there again.
Yeah, he's a panelist.
Okay.
Yeah,
He said,
You said ask them.
yeah, he's already, okay. Okay.
All right, we're good to go. Good evening, everyone. Today is January 6th. Happy New Year. This is a regular scheduled meeting of the Business Economic Development Committee. Committee members, Councilor Hawes, Councilor Maller, Councilor Leonard, who's on Zoom, myself, Councilor Fournier. We're joined by Councilor Beck, Councilor Trumbull, Councilor Dean, Council Chair Pelletier, and also at the table is Ann Krieg, our Business Economic Development Officer, Director.
Sorry.
Get stumbled up on that. First up on the agenda is an update on the commercial kitchen.
Yep, our Economic Development Officer, Brigida Hernandez Smith, will lead that discussion. We have our architects here as well.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So, updates on the commercial kitchen. So as you know, this has been a big project for us in our community. It's definitely needed. I am very excited about it. When I started, it was all about really trying to understand the project and moving it forward. Anne had passed the baton to me to some degree to lead the project. And so in leading the project, it was important to look at the numbers. And so I looked at them very closely and realized that we were above budget. And so I worked closely and asked very specific questions to Paul Designs to say, how do we get that to budget? Apparently there were unexpected issues with the building, that being the roof, and which catapulted into HVAC errors and issues, and also the wiring. So the building itself is very outdated, outside of code. And so all in all, to replace that and to bring it up to code would be $1.5 million. Obviously, that is not an option because we are still looking for funding. I'm still searching to get funding for this project. So we have $1 million in congressional spending, and you know that we've also applied for $3 million at NBRC, Northern Border Regional Commission, of which we are looking forward to hearing great news on that $3 million this month. But there's still a funding gap. So my question to Paul Designs was, how do we get it under? And so they explored some really creative ways. And one of those ways is to build a prefabricated metal building. I will leave it to Paul Designs to talk about kind of the intricacies of that. The most important thing to me was that we saved money, that we did not compromise content or programming, because that was very specific in this project, right? How many businesses do we want to host? You know, all the things regarding podcasts and learning and resources on site, ensuring that that stayed the same. And also the fact that we gave honor and legacy and gave honor to the legacy of the Gentlemen's Club. So with that, I think it's a great opportunity. Pleasantly, it not only saves money, but it also offers new opportunities for energy efficiency and sustainability. So I will hand it off to Paul Designs to kind of talk about that more specifically, and go through the actual designs. But as I mentioned, I really would love for you guys to think seriously about that 1.5 million. Because it's a lot of money. And again, we are working diligently to be able to fund this project. So Paul times two.
Yeah, we've got all the Pauls here. Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. And we'll go through in a little bit more detail. I think you've all received the packet that we're presenting tonight. But we're happy to answer any questions if that comes up. I want to start by saying that it has been a sheer pleasure working with Birgitta and Anne. It's just been really a collegial, collaborative process, the one that we really enjoy. So that's been part of the excitement of working together to get this building on budget. So I just wanted to go through a few things. Obviously, we started this project with the existing building, and we did our due diligence and a lot of research. And last time we met, there were some things that we've discovered since the last meeting. But last time we met, when we were planning to repair the building, we knew that the electrical system was undersized and that we'd have to provide a new system. We knew the plumbing system needed to be replaced because we were putting in new drains for kitchen and restrooms. This would require extensive floor slab cutting. And we had factored in all those costs. And when we started then looking at the structure of the building and the exterior envelope, some things that we discovered in a deeper study was that the roof structure does not currently meet the structural code. In order to support any rooftop equipment or any photovoltaic panels or anything, we would have to replace all of the structure. We knew that all the windows in the buildings, the ones that aren't broken, would need to be replaced. And then we did a full survey of the exterior walls, a more in-depth survey than before, and realized the walls were a combination of different types of construction types. Some of them are only concrete block with a stucco on the outside, and none of this met energy code. We want this new building to meet energy code. It obviously needs to by code, but we also wanted to make sure that we were able to reduce operational costs for the city of Bangor as well. So when we started to look at the replacement of the roof itself, we had a structure that was coming in at just under $100 a square foot, which isn't bad until you think you've got 13,000 square feet, and that's $1.3 million just in replacement of the roof. And that doesn't include any of the work that we need to do the exterior walls. Then we started looking at a pre-engineered metal building. So these are the warehouse buildings that you've seen time and time again that have metal siding on them. And we did some work with a couple companies and came up with a budget of $350,000 for the structure for the building. So you can see that even that was saving money over the cost of the roof replacement. And when Birgitta speaks of the $1.5 million in savings, that's including what we would have had to do the exterior shell and all of that. So what we have now is a project that is a demolition of the existing building, a new building being constructed that is 13,000 square feet that meets all of the program that we started with. We haven't cut any of the program since what we showed you last time. And we also have a building that it's more compact. It's a simple rectangle. As I said, it maintains all the same incubator and entrepreneurial space. It'll be easier to insulate because we'll have new exterior walls, and we're looking at and have estimated using the new wood fiber insulation from Timber HP, which is made here in Maine from wood that is a byproduct of the Maine timber industry. It's really exciting, innovative stuff and super sustainable. And as Birgitta said, in the lobby, we want to create, or in the community room, we're looking at ways to honor the former Officers Club and the Dow Air Force Base as the site. We know there were some murals in there that we're looking at that we may try to photograph, et cetera, but that's in progress, but we know we'll be able to do something in those public spaces. So that was the pricing, and then we did a lot of work with design and reworking it, and we've got a short slideshow here to show you some of the work. So the first slide, just our cover page, you can see the building, but I think the floor plan is probably the best one. So there's an orange line on this drawing that is roughly in the same place as the gray block. That was the original building. So our intention was to demolish just the piece where it says perimeter of exterior building. But what we ended up with originally was 16,000 square feet. So that was an even higher budget. And there was some additional space that we didn't really need as much. So what we are doing is tearing down the original building, and in gray, you can see the new footprint, which is roughly in the same place, but will be all new construction. Let's go to the next slide. I know we don't have a ton of time. This is the floor plan. And I think we've got a couple floor plans in the packet, but I think the one, Paul, that has the flow is probably the easier one to look at. We've got here, this one is probably the better one to show you. So anything in blue is sort of the public part of the building, for people who are coming to meetings or to see if they want to become members, et cetera. And anything in orange is the kitchen, the technical space in the back. So the building lays out pretty nicely with this split. You can see, first of all, on the right side, we've got freezers, coolers, and a loading dock. In the very front, we have a lobby and a community multi-purpose room that can be used for a cooking demonstration. It can be used for a class, teaching anything, but entrepreneurial studies, those sort of things. There, it can be used as a pop-up shop for people to sell goods. There's other presentation space. Could be used for receptions. It could be used for a company that's a member that wants to debut a new product or do taste testing. Lots of opportunities with that multi-purpose space. There's some office space, another conference room that could work out, could help out. And that really gets us to the lower part of the building where you see the blue lines. Everything then connects around the central core, which is that rectangle in the middle. And that's the lower part of that are our public restrooms. And we have, they are separate gender restrooms, as well as we have a wellness room and a single bathroom that has like a locker room facility, sort of shower, but it's a single use bathroom. Above that, we have the core of our kitchen, which is, as before, we have about 70 linear feet of hood with all of our equipment. It's all designed to be accessible. We've given more space so that people can move around. There are some of the ranges are at wheelchair height, others are at full height. The tables are all movable, excuse me. And that becomes our core. And then around that, if we go clockwise, starting at about 9 o'clock on the side here, we've got mechanical space on the right side. We've got mechanical space. We have a kitchen manager. In the corner, we have some more mechanical, electrical space. Then we have a series of semi-private sub-kitchens. In the corner, we have cookware storage. Then we have dry storage and packing, and then a washing area, which is a dishwash. And that all connects to the right side where there's a loading dock. And then there's a cooler and a freezer that are exterior buildings connected to the building that actually are accessed through the dry storage area. You can see that dashed line where it says dry. So a very clean, compact building, and we're at about 13,000 square feet here. What's our next slide, Paul? I think I just want to get to talk about so we have some elevations. They're probably better seen on the renderings. So, but we can always come back if you have questions. So let's go forward, Paul. And then next slide. One of the things that we're looking at is the ability to add, and we're doing this as an alternate for cold banking, which is a place where people who need shorter long-term freezer space. So it would be built next to the freezers as an addition, or hopefully part of the original building. But it's all accessed from the same loading dock, and it just is on the other side of the dock. So we felt that we've just seen prices all over the place still, and escalation is high. So we feel that this is possible in the budget, but we figure by bidding it out as an alternate, we can keep the project going, and this could easily be built as a future phase. So we're using it sort of as a relief valve in a way, but we are continuing obviously to work on the project and refine the estimating. So we're showing it, and we're hopeful that it can be included in the first phase. And then I think we have some renderings of the exterior. So we go to the first one here. So we have a big block building, but what we've done is we've tried to give the building a sort of exciting forward-thinking kind of look. It is a rectangle with a single pitched roof. What that roof allows us is the ability to have some mechanical space in a mezzanine and some higher space in the lobby as well as in the entrance. So the exterior, we're using some of the standard colored metals that we can get with the building, but we're looking at creating a little bit of visual interest here. Go to the next slide, Paul. So here's the corner looking up at the building, and you can see we've got an opportunity for signage. We're actually just cutting the siding at an angle to create this sort of dynamic shape on it. It doesn't change the shape of the building, but it gives us a little bit of design energy, we feel. Next slide, Paul. And then this is the side on the road where there's an exit stair, and we're just trying to change some of the colors. This would be coming back from the other side. And we envision there'll be some more landscaping here in the front, but this is the existing open grass that's there. And then our next slide here is an aerial view. So you can see where the building is a simple single pitch rectangle. And what we're doing is just sort of cutting away the entrance to create an indoor-outdoor space with a courtyard in front, or sorry, a plaza in front. Could have some outdoor seating in the warmer months. The glass part that you're seeing on the right side here is the multi-purpose space inside. So it'll have these great views in and out. You'll be able to see what's going on in that space. I think we've got a couple more views. That's the side exit stair. This is the front of the building. I think the landscaping is looking a little unwatered in this one, but what we wanted to show is here, the glass we're using, we're putting a coating, a pattern on it. So it's bird safe glass, meaning that birds will see this pattern, see it as a solid wall, and they won't fly into that. What's rendering us sort of that wavy orange is actually a wood look material. So that will create a sort of visual warm interest into that building. I think we've got a couple other images. Here's some night shots showing that entry space is just the vestibule. And then here's sort of a nice view sort of showing this in the fall, where we've got that bright color that sort of gives us the energy, shows where the entrance is, and for a very simple building gives us I think a very interesting and exciting design. And then there's a longer view of how this will look.
Great, thank you. Questions, comments? Councilor Trumbull.
I think it makes sense to go with this type of construction, whether we try to retrofit the building, that's it. But my question, just kind of thinking out loud, is when we thought it was a good idea to get a central kitchen, and then this building was available, so we thought that would be the good site to use. Is they talk about the plans and the possibility to have excess cold storage and freezer space out there for use, for people that need to rent space.
Mhm.
Is this the best site for it? Should it be more adjacent to the airport where it can be used by the airport as well for people that need cold storage? I mean, I think there's an opportunity there that we've talked to in the past for cold storage at the airport. So is this still the best site now that we're going to build a building? I think now's the time to make that decision.
Yeah, just to sort of respond to that, obviously the building is rather simple and could be transported to different sites. We do know that there's enough land here to do this. It does seem like it's a nice accessible site in terms of highway access as well. And infrastructure wise, we've got the area here where we can do proper grease trap, and we're trying to do an all electric building, but we know that we have the ability to bring in the power we need. So this site does still make sense in one aspect, but
Right.
I
The
wouldn't.
question-
Yeah,
It was more for staff to talk to the airport to
Yeah.
decide.
Yeah, no, understood. I just wanted to sort of talk about the infrastructure mostly, but
Yeah.
yeah, it could easily be moved as a building because
Right.
it's of its flat. It's one floor and simple.
There's definitely a market for cold storage, for sure.
Other questions, comments? Councilor Dean.
I'm just wondering how much time and money have we put into this original design to only find out that it's not feasible? And
Oh.
is that wasted time or does it all pretty much transfer to this new design?
If you want to address that, all of the interior planning translates to this design. So it wasn't like we've incurred we started to do research into the existing skin. We did research at multiple stages. When we got to the deepest level and we started looking at energy modeling and things, that's when we started to think about the cost of, or that's when we realized the cost of all of these things. And that was work that I guess I would say is what led us to this design, which is giving us a more economical building. But all of the kitchen planning that was done and all of the site and all of the programming, sorry, all the programming work was all translated to this design. So none of that effort was lost.
I believe there was some
Yeah, you did.
environmental cleanup that was done. But it was gonna have to be. done
Right, but
anyway.
that was done when we mothballed the building originally, yeah,
So I think that's probably the biggest,
which would have to happen no matter what you do with the site.
exactly.
You did have a hand raise, that's why I was checking. Yeah. Do you wanna?
Curtis Ford,
Yep. Yep, you can speak.
Hello,
we can barely hear you, Curtis.
you can barely hear me? Well, I just had a general question.
I'm sorry, that's much better.
Yeah, I just had just a general question. As far as location, what are you guys doing about the population adjunct to this building that's proposed? Is there any, I know that's a little off topic. I just find it kind of odd that, not without getting into too much detail, that part of the city is being built up this way, I guess. I mean, I haven't really seen this project, but I'm confused by why this is a good idea as far as economic development. So I guess that's my point.
I guess
Yeah, we had done a market study using a consultant that has done other projects like this, namely down in Portland and other parts of the state. And there is a market for this in this area. There's a lot of people that are producing food, at a very small scale in their own home that, would want to level up. This is something that would be available to them, so that they don't have to go and purchase a building and all of this equipment. They can just rent that space. So, those are some of the users, but there's also some larger users that we've been talking to that, could be really good anchor tenants, larger food companies that want to, do test markets and things like that. So, it's, we can certainly, I'll make sure if it's not on the website right now, we can put that market study on the website, tomorrow, so that if people want to take a look at it, they can see what we based our work on.
there was also a
Yeah,
need
I
for.
would be fascinated, if I'm still unmuted, I would be fascinated by the marketing study and I'd love to check it out. As far as the design though, it's a confusing design being that area is obviously not, very well developed, obviously. I'm just kind of wondering why you would go with such a modernist design. Are you assuming that it's going to be a modern industrial outer infrastructure to the airport? I mean, it's just very confusing. There's a lot of different architecture in Bangor, so I think I have kind of a valid question in arguing the design. I mean, it's just kind of impersonal, I would say.
But I would just say, please feel free to reach out to Ann Krieg or I always mess up.
Begita.
Begita, to reach out to them with your thoughts and ideas. Certainly welcome to that.
I think that's a valid thought and idea. Sorry to interrupt. It's just kind of odd to put modern architecture in an area where you're assuming there's going to be more development that's similar. You know what I mean? It's like putting, a shack next to a mansion, it's just kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I understand economically where this is a great, viable thing to do for small businesses, and, restaurants, food testing, but it's just kind of odd. I wouldn't expect Bangor to be investing in such a kind of like an ancillary project in my mind.
Thank you, Curtis. Again, please reach out. We're on a tight time frame right here. We're supposed to have another meeting starting at 6. So I appreciate.
I also, I had a different agenda as far as art walks, and I was just kind of wondering if this should be approached at a different meeting, or is today
If you
good
could
for that?
reach out, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Councilor Beck.
Yeah, in addition to the study, would it be possible to put some hypothetical case studies? Kind of illustrate for people exactly what tenants would look like and what it brings to the city and kind of run the cards out on that so people can really understand the benefits that this brings.
Yep. Absolutely.
Councilor Mallard.
Quick question, if we decide to go to a different piece of property with this, have we thought about what we would reuse the offices quarters for? I mean, you have a potential of 2 sites instead of 1.
Yeah, that's a larger discussion that maybe we can put on the next agenda, because I'd like staff to kind of take a look at that a little bit before answering quickly. Yeah.
What was the cost to demolish?
I'm not sure. Was that
It
in
was-
the?
It was in the estimate. I think I don't have sorry, I didn't put it in front of me. I think we had 75,000 to 100,000 for demolition.
Yeah, 75 to 100,000.
Other questions, comments? I'd have to agree with Councilor Trumbull. If we can find something else that might be closer to the airfield, I think that would make a whole bunch of sense, because there has been a need to have cold storage, or a big potential need right off the airport. I think if we could do that, that would be great. But I don't think anyone's opposed to going that direction as far as.
Right. We can take a look at the airport master plan.
Yeah.
And see, where we anticipated those types of uses.
Great. Anything else? If not, I know we're on a tight time frame.
Yes.
Downtown partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great.
Thank you.
I think we're set. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
2 minutes or less.
I love that.
I could have said 3, but.
Yeah. No, thanks everyone for having me. This is our really quick check-in at the middle of the fiscal year about the progress that we've made in regard to the goals that the Downtown Bangor Partnership sets out at the beginning of the year. I tried to summarize them for you in a quick bullet pointed document here. A lot of these are legacy projects that we have continue to operate, and just kind of updates on where we are with them. I think one of the most significant areas of development for us has been in the marketing and development committee. We've started to engage a little bit more in tourism, and we're really in the first fiscal quarter of this year, and we're already wildly successful. When you look at the statistics on like our website visitation, the first city that shows up as most visited is Bangor, and then the second is Boston, and the third is New York City. So, really quickly, as soon as we started telling people about all the wonderful things that we have to offer, they started showing up and looking at the site. And there's a 6-month, depending on how far away a person is, 6 month to a year development on the tourism community. So I think we'll start to see some of that coming forward in the upcoming year, which is really exciting. And then the other big development was our new program was our Safety and Hospitality Ambassador Program, which we launched this year. They more or less started their patrols in mid-September. And I say more or less because as soon as they started, 3 of them had COVID in the first week. And so I don't think we really got a good picture of what they were doing until the very beginning of October. I did include their report of all the progress that they had made, or all the interactions that they had in your packet. I think some highlights that people have asked us about and, you know, would be like the number of needles cleaned up. They've cleaned up over 1,200 needles during that time period. Lots of wellness checks with people that they find out on the street and connecting with, you know, resources. If, you know, somebody's having a breakdown. They've done lots of litter and garbage collection, just helping keep the streets cleaner. They've picked up 22 bags of garbage, just kind of walking around, gathering litter, which has been really wonderful. They've cleaned up 42 tent sites. They use the term encampment, but really what it really means is like an individual is camped out on either public or private property, and they go in and they you know, clean up after the people when they've left the site, so that, you know, whether it's, you know, in a public park or on private property, nobody is left having to clean up after that happening. Interventions for, you know, drug activity. At any rate, like, you can more or less see all the statistics laid out for you. I think they've been really active. I think as we've worked more and more with PD to establish kind of what the culture and the boundaries are for the city of Bangor itself. They've continued to hone their program. They still have yet to be fully staffed to their 5.66 employees that we budgeted for. They have a pretty awesome group of 3 people who've remained solid and kind of a revolving cast of characters through the other positions. You know, hopefully that will stabilize and solidify, but even not flying at full mast, I think they've made a pretty positive impact.
Great. Question, Councilor Beck.
How has the feedback been from business owners about the program, about the ambassador, what people call the number?
It's good. I mean, I would say that there are some who are like really engaged and call all the time. And then there are other ones who we kind of like hear about something after the fact, or that we're constantly reinforcing. And I think that's part of the reason that you see so many business checks, is that they're constantly like checking in and like letting people know like, hey, you can call us. Hey, you can reach out to us. And it's kind of, as we've gotten deeper into it, we're seeing more and more, but there's certainly some early adopters who like call all of the time and have established great relationships with the ambassadors. I mean, just an example is last Friday, there was a spot underneath Merchants Plaza. They have like these steps and there's lattice that was broken, and they've been checking it every day to make sure that nothing's going on in there. And if there's signs of people camping out, they clean it. Well, they found a fire pit under there where somebody had then, you know, lit a fire into the steps, and they were able to like immediately deal with that, because that could have been a much larger issue, like had nobody noticed that going on. You know, so they kind of have fostered some relationships and identified, they, you know, have spent the first few months like identifying hotspots and the places that are common locations that need more attention.
Other questions, comments?
Yes.
So I like that report that was done, where the breakdown of you know, business checks, the needles and all that. And that be done monthly, and then send it over to us, so just so we can kind of track what's happening on a monthly basis. I think
Yes,
that would
absolutely.
be
Yeah,
good for us
no,
to
we can
see.
do that. And they do typically do monthly check-ins, but we did like a whole, like a lot of that first month was like establishing like what are, you know, like what are those boundaries? Because things that are enforceable in other places aren't necessarily enforceable in Bangor, our priorities. And so we kind of redefined the categories that really make sense based on what they're seeing and what, you know, Bangor is looking for, and then reestablished it and kind of went back through and figured that out. But we will have monthly reporting for, if you guys want it, do you want it delivered to B&ED at a meeting or just given?
Yeah, forward it on to
Could have it
Ann,
as a
and
check-in.
Ann can forward it on to us.
Yep,
as needed.
absolutely.
Sure.
But just so we can see trends.
Yeah, and there are already trends, you know, one of them was that the needle collection has actually dropped off significantly. Kind of since starting in November, that was a really interesting one, and there's, you know, we have all sorts of hypotheses about why that might be.
Right.
But
But we just need like a
Yeah.
year or two cycle to see. Yeah,
Mhm.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
And I want to compliment you. It was only 6 minutes, so, which is really good.
I tried.
You did a good job. Thank you. Appreciate it. You good? All right, next up,
Yeah, I'll be very quick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
demolition review.
I just wanted to bring to your attention, there's two buildings that we're gonna be requesting the council to allow for demolition. The first is located at 271 Elm Street, and it sustained significant damage on fire last summer. It has not undergone any rehabilitation or demolition since that time. And also the property at 354 Ohio Street that was also in a fire last spring. The property had been condemned and there was a second fire. So again, no rehabilitation or demolition. So we're going to be asking for those buildings to be demolished,
Councilor
which is
Trumbull.
allowed under your code.
Yeah, I'm not on the committee. My only comment would be, I suspect both of these properties probably meet the standard for demolition. However, I think there's been times in the past where we've asked to demolish properties that probably were salvageable, and we reversed and we decided to try to save them. So I'm just not comfortable just with an address and a narrative without any pictures of the property or any more information.
okay.
I think we need a lot more information before I'm gonna vote to demolish some of these properties. So, I mean, I think they probably will meet the standard, but I just need a lot more information.
Okay.
Councilor Pelletier.
Thanks. I'm also not a voting member of the committee, but my question is, who pays for it? What happens to the property afterward? Are there backroad taxes on these properties? So again, I don't need answers to all that right now, but as you're
Yep.
collecting the information for Councilor Trumbull, if you'd provide a little bit more of that information too.
Sure.
Thank you.
Those were all my questions. Councilor Mallon.
Quick question on properties that are going to be condemned or aren't going to be able to rehab. How many do we have on? Do we have a lot more than these two on the list?
We
I'm
have,
thinking about
yeah,
the commercial property going up State Street Hill, the Nobby Dow building, which I've been screaming about for over 20 years. And it's just getting worse every year. It's not getting better. What are we doing about that?
I can get you an update on that. Yep.
Anything else? I think if we can get answers to those
I'll get
questions,
some
we
more
can move forward on
information.
that.
Absolutely.
Great. Anything else before the committee? Seeing none, we're adjourned.